Well, hello, traders and investors. I'm Ellie Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets, doing it from a neoclassical perspective. That means each time we're asking ourselves what happened today and what might it tell us about the coming ones. We use that knowledge that we gain from the charts, right, to make decisions about what should and shouldn't happen. We look at those tests, and then we decide what it tells us. And most of the times it gives us some information that we can use. I do a show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday, broadcast at 4, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Archived on YouTube, son of a channel, L.A. Little. And if you want to subscribe and you haven't, reach up in the right-hand corner, hit the subscription button. Anytime I push public content, you'll get a notification. As far as what did happen today, let's take a look at the numbers here. We had a pretty flat day. What do we got? Russell up a little bit. Everything else pretty much flat. Same thing in the gold and silver markets. All did bounce around, ended up higher. Overseas markets sold down. They basically matched what we did last night. So essentially, you know, we were talking about it last night. It's like, okay, everybody's waiting on Yellen. Yellen's got her speech tomorrow. That speech is 11 o'clock Eastern Time. That's going to be... Actually, that's going to be after the market opens, right? So you're probably going to get about an hour of opening. The speeches, whatever the prepared comments are, or the speech will probably get passed around about then. Usually, I think is the way it works. And so about an hour in, you'll probably start getting leaks, and then the market will start moving off of whatever that news is. Expectation is not she's not going to do much. I mean, I saw a piece, it was well written, said, you know, there's kind of 4 scenarios. There's 2 that are kind of bad, 2 that are kind of good. The 2 that are kind of bad, of course, there's a worse and a better, and then the better one is the one that probably has the higher probability, which is she comes out, she says that, yeah, we're going to get a little bit more hawkish, but then she doesn't really set a date and certainly doesn't say we're going to do 2 rate increases this year. If she came out hawkish, said we're going to do rate increases twice, I suspect this market's going to take a tumble. If she doesn't say much of anything, we might get that bump up or that bump down, and then everything just kind of comes back to normal. It's a known news event. Known news events sometimes can trump the technicals, and so one should be aware of that coming in and not blind to the idea. Let's take a look at some things I haven't taken a look at lately because honestly the market's not doing anything. So let's just spread our views, look elsewhere and see what there is. So I haven't looked at the emerging markets in a while. Here's the emerging markets. I'm going to pull over the monthly as well. So this thing's coming back in, doing a retest regions. They can go quite a bit higher still. They got an ABCD structure here off this low. Looks like that price point was about $27.61. Up to that, it's about $8 almost. $8 onto this makes about $39. It's almost there. So the ABCD structure here almost complete on a long-term basis. European Banking Index. I haven't looked at this in a while. So little ABCD structures on the upside. Looks like it's just about completed. Let's see what it looks like on the weekly. Okay, the big breakdown bar, you're coming back up. You're doing a full retest regen off this bar. It's a bearish, 16.82. And you're trading it at 16.90. This is on the weekly. In other words, if we stay over this week, and if we get a continued rise next week, it'd be 2 bars over, right? Then that pretty much says that this trend down is over for now, and it's more sideways. And so, you know, I'm picking this out. I'm not really showing it. Let me just draw it right quick. That's the bearish retest regen off this prior swing point low that was broke on this big bar down. It should come back up. You want to see it tested, and then blew up with volume here, but then it's right back up there again this week, hanging, and it's right over the top of it. If you can get over it, stay over it. Usually if you do that for a couple bars and we're on the weekly, then that would say that the trend that has been this way, right, is probably more like that. And so when I think about that, right, that says, hey, banking index, maybe they're going to solve those problems that they got in Italy. I haven't looked at the currencies a lot. Let's look at them one more time here before Yellen does her thing. So, you know, the thing that's fascinating, let me pull down and pull up the dollar, is that, you know, everybody is saying that they kind of expect now that she's probably going to say something that's a little bit more hawkish, yet this dollar isn't moving. Does that mean that the dollar can't move on a better than expected scenario in terms of interest rate rises? I don't know, folks. It's kind of odd to me. There is an ABCD structure down. I've talked about this before. That one's already completed, right? This is done. And so now you got a little bounce going on. Are they going to try to set up another one down? Or is something else going on? And that is if we look at the weekly, are we actually setting up or have set up an ABCD structure potentially to the upside? In other words, we got this move up here. It would be to that high, back down, right? And potentially something coming back up. Is that what's happening? I don't know. And I think tomorrow will give us a better clue on that. These charts aren't really telling me. The FXE doesn't tell me. I don't see it in these others. I'm going to glance at some of the other ones here. That's the British pound just banging along the bottom. Canadian dollar has been going up. And that doesn't really tell me anything. I don't really see anything in these currencies. The only one that's been very interesting has been the yen. These are the same. That's the Swiss currency. Let's look at the Japanese yen. And still can't get over the tops. So the Japanese yen is still hanging up there. We can't get over it. So, and this one also doing a bearish retest off of this. Just like we showed a second ago with the EUFN, you got the exact same thing here with the yen. Right, where you're doing that, you're just about over it and trying to get over it. And if it does get over it, right, for a couple bars and holds over it, this is on the monthly, that top is, or actually the close right now is 96.07, and that bar over there was 96.14, so still not over it. We may see the yen pushed back down if the dollar goes up. That would certainly help it. If it does, then that would help the Japanese market. So there's a lot of ramifications about what could happen if something more than just the, I'm a little bit more hawkish or I'm a little bit more dovish goes on. If I'm very hawkish or very dovish, then we're going to see larger moves. That's probably not the odds-on bet, but that's one thing we have to be aware of, because in these cases, right, we could get a scenario where the news just trumps the technicals and resets them. So we'll be watching for it. I got the commodity index up. I haven't looked at it in a while. Let's look at the weekly here. So you had a nice big spike up. You get to the top. You do a test of the top, fail, come back down. So this did a bearish retest, couldn't hold. A bullish retest regen couldn't hold. So in other words, when we got over this swing point high and we came back into it, that's the test right there. You try to regenerate higher, but yet you fell, you regenerate lower, and so it not regenerate, but you fell and go lower, right? You stay under for a couple bars. So that kind of tells us that the trend that was up, right? This is what we were just talking about a while ago about the down now sideways. The trend that was up now is more than likely sideways. And that's in fact what you're getting, right? Some sort of sideways move. Now, if this starts to push lower here and breaks a swing point low, then things change. But right now, it's a sideways move on this weekly on the broad commodity index. Look at the monthly. And that had a huge decline, got a bounce. Now it's the question of, is it really changed or is it the same? Gold stocks are going to do something tomorrow probably. So what do they do today? They get under back over. Then that's kind of bullish actually. So you get under back over. What's not bullish about it is the way that candle printed today. Big long tail on the top. You went in to do a bearish retest regen. And I'm on the dailies here, right? So you went in to do a bearish retest regen, and you did it immediately. Usually that says you're going to get into the top third, potentially even a full retest regen. Didn't quite get there. Pushed up into it. Didn't quite get there. This also looks like it's just hanging out here, waiting to see what the speech does tomorrow. Big volume on the way down, though. I think I'd be careful with this one. Looks to me like if you're going to get a bigger move, right, it's not going to stop here. It's going to come after this bar. So that's where I'd be looking if we get pressure tomorrow. Gold, let's see what gold did. I think gold was flat, we said, and couldn't go anywhere. And so we broke a swing point low. We got another one bound below us, and that's a range up there. So I would be watching this range. This is going to be the interesting part of it, right? So you come into this, maybe tomorrow you get a spike down, you test these, and if it can't break them down, right, look for the reversal. That might be a nice trade if it does it. Let's see what else. So you can think of a lot of scenarios that might make sense. You just got to see how they trade into them and what they do. Most of these others I've looked at. Let me look at silver one more time on all the time frames. So we broke down here. Let me see what the weekly looks like. Oh, so we had a huge wide price spread bar. The retest region is here. This is the thing that's interesting about all of these, right, is they come back, right? They should get bought because they're more than 6 bars across as they trade. Usually that means that this first time back is going to be a good time to buy. It's also, if you look at it here, right, the top third, which is where it should trade, is the bottom of that big wide price spread bar to the top side. And so that says that this area right there is a pretty hot place to be thinking about buying. 1678, top is 1695. You might want to put that on your radar as well. As far as the indexes here and overseas, really nothing to talk about. I'm not even going to drift over to those. I think the main thing is what I've talked about before. That is that we have a known event. Let's see how it affects the markets, and let's watch for false moves off of it to offer opportunities to buy or short. There's some things out there. So if you don't know what you're doing, you want to learn a little bit more, come over and get started with me. I can show you. Be a member for 6 months, folks. You can apply to the mentorship program. That mentorship program is there for you. Neoclassical, we teach you all about how to trade. And I'm not talking about day trades, swing trades, even long-term stuff. It all applies. Come check it out. You might want to be a member for as little as $15 a month just to get into this program. Have yourself a great one. Enjoy the trading tomorrow. It's going to be fun. We might actually have a little pickup in activity after what has this been? Months of nothingness, right? Let's see how it trades tomorrow, and let's see what we can do. Get started with me. I'll see you on Sunday. Have a great one. Take care.